Here are the top 5 Coach of the Year candidates for me. And I'm going to start number 5 with the head coach of the New York Football Giants and Brian Daboll. And he's number 5. I mean, he was terrific, and what he did with this team to turn them around was remarkable. And I loved, him putting his Dabolls on the table in week 1, going for 2 in Tennessee. And that kind of set the tone for much of the year. And the team did have a swoon, around Thanksgiving into December. But that win against the Washington Commanders on a Sunday night on week 15, I know Commanders fans are still very upset about Terry McLaurin being called for not having lined up properly after Brian Robinson scored the touchdown to lead to a potential 2-point conversion to tie things. And that really changed the tide as to whether the Commanders were going to make it or the Giants were going to make it. And we all know what happened with the Commanders, but the Giants did a great job. And I would have voted this way, at the end of the season. And you want to add what we saw in week 1 of the playoffs. I mean, Daboll was terrific, but I would put him 5 on this list. And then number 4 on this list, I would put Doug Pederson. I would put the guy who turned the Jacksonville Jaguars around. And I have him on 4 on this list because part of the reason why he was successful is he already had the quarterback built in. And another reason why he was successful is he's not Urban Meyer, who is absolutely the worst coach that we've seen in my 20 years to take a job that is so promising. And Peterson showed you exactly how much of a golden ticket it is if you are, say, not an a-hole. And so he's not, and he's also very professional, and he turned the Jaguars around, and part of that is also because of who he is and what he does and what he did. And the Jaguars now, I would proffer to say, going into next year, will be the consensus favorite to win the AFC South, I would think. And then, again, I would have voted this way going into the playoffs, and we saw what he did with that comeback. His calm demeanor is exactly what was needed when Trevor Lawrence, I mean, the first half of the game was Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer, and then the second half of the game was Trevor Lawrence with Doug Pederson. It was kind of like a metaphor for the entire season for the Jaguars, their entire 2-year stint since Lawrence came off the campus in Clemson. So there you have it for the 4. And then number 3, I have to put Sean McDermott here. I can't believe he was left off the finalist list. I mean, you want to talk about, he could have won Coach of the Year as to how he handled DeMar Hamlin on the spot. That alone could give you Coach of the Year. I mean, what he did on the spot, in the moment, in the aftermath, I mean, and this team had Super Bowl aspirations and still, could have won the 1 seed had we not seen what happened. I mean, honestly, what McDermott has done with this team in the snowstorm twice, and he played 2 games in Detroit. 1 is a home game. And if the AFC Championship game, they didn't choose Atlanta, they chose Detroit instead, it would have been possible he played 3 games in Detroit this year.
Which is kind of crazy, Rich. Have you heard the stuff this week that maybe they should make a coaching change and that's the key to unlocking?
I don't believe it. I think he's great for that area, and I think he's great for the team. And there's so many. Part of the reason why they might not have had enough gas in the tank at the end is all the emotion of the season that I thought McDermott expertly handled. Number 2 on this list is the guy who had a team that was undefeated the longest. I think what Nick Sirianni has done in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts is unbelievable, and he has blossomed into some, red-ass Philly guy that I think everybody loves, filled with personality. He's like barking at refs. He's barking at cameras. Yeah, man. I mean, but I think he's created a world there. And it all started with him. Remember he was wearing Jalen Hurts on his shirt. I mean, he has built a program there that is unbelievable. Number 1, my coach of the year is Kyle Shanahan. I mean, 3 quarterbacks. Honestly. You play 3 quarterbacks. You start 3 quarterbacks. You lose. You don't make the playoffs. You don't go into the playoffs with a head of steam, and you don't finish the 2 seed. You don't. Kyle and what he did with Trey Lance to Garoppolo, keeping Garoppolo around, and then have Garoppolo do what he did and then hand things off to Purdy, and then Purdy looks just as good as the other two. He looks better than Lance, and on occasion he looks better than Garoppolo. And you bring Christian McCaffrey in, and you send Jeff Wilson out, and you got to share the football. I mean, we're not talking at all about whatever Debo was pissed off about. That was other than money, So, Kyle Shanahan is my coach of the year for 2022. And
do you think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
All right, I'll give you one more. I was thinking Dan Campbell is a guy that you could think of about what he did with the Lions. I think, you hear Lions fans saying, why not Dan Campbell? But when you look at a coach of the year candidate, you've got to look at somebody who can show the way and lead. Certainly when something isn't going right, communication is breaking down, or you have somebody that can maybe have a veteran there that just only knows one way to do things and certainly thinks that he knows the way to do things, and the coach just guides everyone through to success. And that person for me is Cicely Strong. I mean, what she's done with Einstein is truly unbelievable. I mean, he had one way of knowing how to work his cell phone and his service, and she basically told him, we've seen it over and over again. She told him, that there's a better way and it's cheaper. And even when she got her point across, she tried to help him by reminding him that he's left his bike behind and it could be faster to get to where he needs to go. So Cicely Strong is my other coach of the year candidate.
Brilliant! I legit thought you were going to be like,
Pete Carroll, something?
Hey, this team, everyone thought was going to struggle coming into the year. They got a guy who hasn't played in like 32 years.
Yeah.
And injuries, the running back position, they got to throw a rookie in there. They get rid of their all-pro line.
Yeah.
No, not Pete Carroll.
Cicely Strong.
Got it.
I mean, the way she's coached up Einstein in just 30 seconds, too, or 60, or even a 15 each time. There's a philosophy. There's a plan. It's well communicated. Actually, communication works now both ways.
Yeah, it could be unlimited.
Could be.
You know what I mean? Kaput. Wow. We're not. This is gonna. How long is this?
Oh, it's not gonna end for a while.
What year is this?
How many more until the Super Bowl?
25, maybe. 24 at least.
Come on.
Like I said,
gotta give it up.
I got fooled again. I legit thought you were gonna do Pete Carroll.
That's why I set it up like that.
Like I said, I usually fast forward or turn during commercials, so I think I'm lost with this whole Einstein.
They're something.
They're everywhere.
They're something. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, great job.
Great list.
I mean,
what do you think about Kyle, though? What do you think about Kyle?
I think the way that they finished the season. I mean, if they have Purdy maybe had lost a couple of games or maybe struggled,
right?
Maybe it'd still be Daboll,
right? Oh, Daboll,
or maybe Pederson, but I think it's Kyle.
I mean, it's funny. My 2 and 3 are the two that were, I guess, the first two out. Now that we know who the 5 finalists were in the final 3 that were announced by the AP, but
I just think when you look at a bunch of a disaster Jacksonville was last year, and then the Giants the last few years, that's probably the big 3.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.